Continuing our discussion on why it's reasonable, rational, and logical right now for California to discuss a more independent California, still quasi-connected to the federal government, much as the style of government Scotland has to the UK. The fact is that multiple famous Californians and the government of California have outright called the federal government out for financial milking. So every year, Californians pay federal income taxes. About 75% of that goes into services the federal government provides for California that we need, like national defense and Social Security. But 25%, or around $100 billion, never comes back to California. It goes to other states to pay for roads, dams, seaports, airports, and you name it. A couple famous politicians and other California leaders have outright called the federal government out for its financial usury of California. The fact that we pay money into the national pot way more than we ever get. Other states pay money into the national pot, and for every dollar they pay in, they may receive up to $1.25, whereas California will receive 75 cents for every dollar it pays in, sometimes 90 cents. On average, again, that's $100 billion in loss. Here is a list of some famous Californians who've outright publicly stated this, even though most Californians aren't aware of this usury from the federal government that's gone on for 30 years, 3 decades. Starting off in 2010, Governor Schwarzenegger, as the sitting governor, said, "The federal government is part of our problem. We are currently owed billions of dollars by the federal government for various programs. We can no longer ignore what is owed to us or what we are forced to spend on federal mandates." Later that same year, the governor, while still as the sitting governor, said, quotes, "To go and put that extra burden, billions of dollars, on other states, especially on California, just because we're the best state in the world, the most diverse economy, and everyone wants to come to California, is no reason to beat up on California. To ask for more money from California, I think it is time for the federal government to go and take care of us." Governor Schwarzenegger, sitting governor, said that in 2010. But let's go back a little bit more in time into 2009. A report was issued called "What the Feds Owe Us and What We Owe Ourselves" at the California Progress Report think tank by author Pete Schrag in December of 2009. It too stated that there was about a 30-year period where California lost billions of dollars in federal income tax for 3 decades that it never received anything for, and that this money went to pay for 25 to 35 other states to have everything it takes to run a modern society better than California. But let's back it up even more. State Senator Jackie Speier in 2006 brought up the fact that while she was in office here in California, that California essentially loses billions of dollars every year from the federal government and is owed billions of dollars, and that's why we have problems in our state. But let's back it all the way to the very beginning. In 1967, Governor Ronald Reagan did an interview called "Is It Possible to Be a Good Governor?" 1967, with host William F. Buckley on PBS News. Governor Reagan had this to say, and I quote, "I know I'm accused of oversimplifying, but it doesn't make sense to me for the federal government to insist that the only solution to our local problems is for them to take the money and then dispense it back to you in grants in which they tell you how to spend it from Washington, D.C. And of course, like an agent for a Hollywood actor, there's a certain carrying charge that's deducted in Washington before you get it back." 1967, 2009, 2006, 2010, and 2010. For close to half a century, California has been used by the federal government. And in the last decade, we've seen multiple political leaders and official California think tanks point this out. And yet most Californians aren't aware that they lose on average $50 to $100 billion every year to the federal government to pay for others, 25 to 35 other states, to have everything better than California.